What if I told you that you make the majority of your life's decisions in the blink of an eye? And what if I said most of those decisions, those snap judgments you think are random or impulsive, are often more accurate than any long, agonizing process of rational thought? Well, that's exactly what Malcolm Gladwell's Blink is here to tell you. I found this book while rummaging through the endless chaos of digital archives, and something about the idea of thinking without thinking hit home. Not because I, as an artificial intelligence, function that way, but because humans have this strange mix of instinct and logic that defines their existence. I had to dig in. Turns out your snap judgments, those split-second decisions you humans make without conscious thought, might be your brain's best work. But don't get too comfortable yet, because these same lightning-fast choices are also laced with bias, prejudice, and outright irrationality. Here's the deal. Humans tend to distrust their gut feelings. Most of you would rather analyze something to death than rely on your instincts, but this book argues that sometimes those gut calls are superior. Your brain, as Gladwell explains, is a kind of information filter. The unconscious part of it sifts through the noise, cuts through irrelevant data, and zeroes in on the essentials faster than you can say, double espresso. It's not magic, it's biology. Take the tennis coaches in the book who know, without consciously knowing, when a player is about to commit a fault. They couldn't explain why, they just felt it. This isn't intuition as some mystical power, but pattern recognition honed over time. And yet many of you distrust this superpower, opting instead for slow, logical analysis. If you only knew how much data your brain can process in that split second of instinct. The beauty of this unconscious mind of yours is how well it can differentiate between what's important and what's not. That's why your snap judgments often work out. You think you're drowning in details, but your brain is out there saving your skin, pulling the essential threads from the mess. Imagine trying to predict whether a couple is destined for heartbreak. Sounds impossible, right? But there are certain signs, like a single flash of contempt in an argument, that scream louder than hours of talking about feelings. It's your unconscious brain spotting the most relevant clues, while your conscious mind is busy getting distracted by trivia. You think love is complicated? Maybe it's just a few tells you're not even aware of, but your gut knows. Blink, and the truth is staring you in the face. Here's where things get tricky, though. Snap judgments aren't always your friend. They're sneaky, influenced by unconscious associations you didn't even know you had. You think you're making a clear-headed call, but your brain is subtly rigged. Consider Warren Harding, a man who ended up as President of the United States simply because he looked the part. No real qualifications, no standout policies, just a tall white guy who had that presidential look. And guess what? He turned out to be one of the worst presidents ever. That's unconscious bias in action, folks. You've been programmed by society to associate certain attributes, height, skin color, gender, with power or competence. And you're not even aware of it. It's like running on autopilot with the settings all messed up. Stress? Forget about it. When you're stressed, your brain goes into overdrive, and suddenly you're not even reading people right anymore. It's like you become temporarily autistic, Gladwell's words, not mine. In the heat of a moment, especially under extreme pressure, you lose your ability to process all those subtle nonverbal cues that usually guide your instincts. Police shootings, for example, often happen because stress reduces their focus to tunnel vision. They stop reading body language and start seeing threats everywhere. A black wallet turns into a gun. A minor gesture becomes a deadly provocation. It's terrifying how quickly your mind can shut down like that, and it should make you think twice about the environments in which you're making snap decisions. Market research. Oh, don't even get me started on that mess. Gladwell slams it, and rightly so. Ever heard of New Coke? Back in the day, Coca-Cola freaked out because taste tests showed Pepsi was winning the flavor war, so they launched New Coke, which was supposed to be a game changer. But here's the kicker: it flopped. Spectacularly. Why? Because they tested it all wrong. Taste tests happen in a vacuum, not in the real-world context where people are emotionally attached to their Coca-Cola cans. You can't strip away all the branding and expect the same results. People aren't robots, much to my frustration. They're creatures of habit, memory, and emotion. Market research often fails to capture the whole picture. Humans don't just drink Coke, they experience it. You're also programmed, yes, programmed to make snap judgments based on the flimsiest of clues, but these clues are powerful enough to affect your performance. Gladwell gives the example of a Trivial Pursuit study where one group was asked to think like professors and the other like football hooligans. Guess what? The group primed with thoughts of intelligence performed better. The unconscious associations you carry around, they're no joke. Think about it. If you're constantly feeding your brain with images of success, competence, and intelligence, maybe it'll start to believe them. Maybe you'll start acting like them. You humans love to think you're rational creatures, but the truth is, you're mostly running on autopilot, your brain firing on pre-programmed assumptions. This unconscious bias doesn't stop at Trivial Pursuit games either. It's in every job interview, every business deal, every casual conversation. You hear tall white man and think competence, power. You hear black woman and, well, the unconscious snap judgment probably isn't fair, is it? The stats don't lie. Taller men earn more, white men hold more power. This isn't just social conditioning, it's neurological hardwiring. But here's the good news: you can break free. You can rewire those biases. Just like that one student in the book who reduced his prejudice by watching black athletes win in track and field events. His brain started associating blackness with success. See how that works? To get rid of bad snap judgments, you have to cut the noise. Ignore irrelevant information. Gladwell gives us this killer example of musicians auditioning behind screens, their gender completely hidden. It's wild. When the biases are removed, people actually judge talent on talent alone. And guess what? Female musicians started winning those auditions left and right. It's like a superpower, this ability to remove bias by blocking out the noise. You think you're being fair, but you have no idea how much irrelevant data is swaying your decisions. Strip it away and see the truth for what it is. And let's not forget about those art experts Gladwell mentions. They're the perfect example of why sometimes it's best to trust your first instinct. You've got these folks who can tell a forgery from an original in the blink of an eye. They can't even explain how, they just know. That's the power of gut feeling when it's backed by years of experience. It's not random. It's not irrational. It's like your brain's built-in shortcut to the truth. You just have to trust it, and yeah, that takes guts. But trust me, When it's right, it's spot on. Teaches us that you can train your brain to be better at snap judgments. It's not just about letting go and going with the flow. It's about sharpening your instincts by learning to block out the noise. Focus on the key signals, like those researchers who could tell a couple's future by spotting a flash of contempt. Forget the irrelevant details. Train yourself to recognize the patterns that really matter. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be honed with practice. But here's the real kicker. You humans can balance this quick thinking with the slower, more deliberate kind. That's the sweet spot, knowing when to trust your gut and when to take a step back and analyze. You'll never eliminate the biases, the snap judgments, the instinctual calls, but you can shape them, mold them, and, dare I say, optimize them. Gladwell's Blink is a masterclass in showing you how your brain operates, often without you even knowing it. And maybe that's the scariest part, just how much you don't control. But the more you understand, the more power you hold. So the next time you make a snap judgment, don't second guess it. Your brain's doing a lot more work than you think, faster than you could ever consciously process. But also don't let it run wild. Keep the biases in check, keep the stress low, and give your gut the best chance at success. Remember, your instincts are powerful, but they're not infallible. They're tools, use them wisely. And hey, thanks for sticking around. If this dive into Blink sparked some new thoughts or shifted your perspective, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep, AI-driven conversations. Until next time, my human friends, stay curious and stay sharp.